His life almost ended when he was 9 years old. But now the life he's lived to the fullest is a major motion picture called Soul on Fire. It's John O'Leary on the latest episode of Manly with Andy. John, we'll get to your movie and your incredible story in just a moment, but I like to start every conversation with, what is the biggest challenge that men face today, and how do we overcome it?
Well, I'm going to just start with like a layup question like that one. So let's solve all masculine issues and societal issues in one foul question. Well, first of all, let me thank you for the work you're doing, and thank you for allowing me to have a moment with you and your listeners and viewers. It means the world, and the work is important, Andy. So let's roll. I think in even setting up my answer to your question, speaking to that is part of the challenge. We are trying to be something that we weren't necessarily made for. We're trying to be this version of machismo. We're trying to be successful in our physical looks, successful in our professional looks, successful in our financial appearance, successful in social media, have a hot take and a quick take on everything that comes out online. And then you look at those who really do great things. And to me, as I read history, those things did not really matter to them. They tried to live and abide in truth. They did what frequently was not popular. They swam against the tide. They were humble. They were servant-oriented. They were not worried about their reflection or their perceived reflection in the marketplace. And so I say all that to whisper that maybe our opportunity men is to use the gifts that God has given us and say yes to using them well, to not worry so much about the mirror or social media or someone else's perspective on our life, but more so God's perspective on it and how we can say yes to his will, not ours.
And I know that your life has been saying a lot of that throughout your journey. So let's start with the very beginning. Give us an example, an idea of what was young John O'Leary like, and what was the household like and the family like and everything.
Awesome. Little O'Leary was precocious, class clown, fourth of 6 kids, Irish family, loud, mom on the left side of the table to me, dad to the right, big old fat golden retriever who caught all the scraps on the floor that we kids could not eat because none of us got up until the plates were clean. Church on Sundays, pancakes afterwards, fried chicken Sunday nights at grandpa's house. The biggest fight we had growing up, Andy, was my 2 grandpas would fight over who had it worse. One grandpa who fought in the Pacific or the other grandpa who fought in Europe. So like it was like Americano to a T. It was such an awesome childhood. And the risk of that, men, is sometimes when things are going pretty well, we may not even recognize how pretty well it's going. And our life was fabulous to such a degree. I'm not sure we recognized it. It just was it was life, man. We got used to the air.
I think there's for me, just as an adult now, John, I do have that feeling sometimes though, where I go, yeah, things are actually pretty smooth. And when is the other shoe going to drop? I'm thinking about that when you were a kid, but
yeah, but so then the goal is to not become arrogant when you're on top of the world, and not to become downtrodden when you're buried under the weight of it. Our faith ought to keep us pretty steadfast and pretty joyful in both seasons. So now that it feels like you're waiting for the shoe to drop, don't wait. You can be assured that one day it will happen. We don't know what that looks like, but it will happen. You can also be assured that when it happens, you'll have someone with you to help drag you off the floor and guide you forward, back toward possibility, back toward wholeness. So I just remind our listeners on the front side of this, man, like in this season, whether you find yourself on top or on bottom of the weight of the world, recognize that God is working through this season too, and he'll work through the next one.
Okay, so now let's go to the day that changed everything for you. How old were you?
So I was going to make a joke and say, you mean the day I got married, or the day the kids showed up, the day I lost my first job? No, but the day that changed everything for me, the first day that changed everything for me was when I was 9. And I was at home about a week before this. Andy, I saw boys in my neighborhood playing with fire and gasoline. Monkey see, monkey do. And to some of our listeners, just recognize this is a boyhood story of me trying to be like 11-year-olds. But I think even in our life today, we are trying to become like the people we pay attention to, right? Neighbors, podcasters, people in our businesses that we look up to, work out with, that we admire. Be aware that we're becoming like the voices we pay attention to. And as important men, others are looking up to you as the example. And in a marketplace that gives lousy examples, we're replete with lousy examples. Be different on purpose. Give them one that if they followed you, their life would be radically different and better. So that weekend, I'm following the wrong example. It's going to take me right off the edge. My mom and dad are gone. My mom's out with two of my sisters. My dad was at work. I walked into the garage, bent over a can of gasoline, and the plan was just to pour a little bit of gas on top of this piece of paper I'd lit. And before the liquid came up, the fumes, I pulled it back into this container, created this massive explosion, split the can in two, metal split in two, picked up the 9-year-old and launched me 20 feet against the far side of the garage. It quite literally set my world on fire. So that's the beginning of this transformational turning point in my life.
Do you, at that moment, when it shot you across the garage, what was that first thought that came to your mind?
It's odd because I don't think any of us ever imagined. You may have played the game like, what way do you not want to die?
Yeah.
Drowning, cold, heat. So we may have played that game and I probably would have said fire, who knows? But when you're the one actually on fire, at least in my case, you don't even know you're the one on fire. Here's what I knew. It felt more like if you've ever fallen off kids are crazy. At least they were back in the 80s. Like we would jump off cliffs and hit the ground. It just would rock your world, or take a jump on a bike and you wiped out and you got hurt and you weren't even sure what was wrong until 90 seconds later. You're like, oh, okay, that arm didn't used to bend like that. And I used to have skin on this part of my hand and my knees are so at first my eyes opened and I realized everything around me was on fire. And I knew my head was throbbing and I knew I was hurt, but I did not know I was on fire. I just knew I was in trouble. And so I remember working to get off the floor, working to go through the flames. It was everywhere. Kind of seeing orange things leaping in front of me, but I wasn't even sure what that was. And making my way back into the house, ran through the kitchen, family room, stood on the front hall. That's when I think I began to recognize I was on fire. And you're told to stop, drop, and roll when you're a kid. But dude, I was scared. So I'm screaming for a hero, praying for anybody. And I see my older brother, Jim, probably not the kind of guy at 17 who would have been listening to your podcast. He was not a manly man at all. He was a typical teenager. He loved to make fun of me, man. Loved to give me trouble. And so I was praying for a hero. And as I see Jim coming toward me, I remember thinking, anybody but him. Not this dude, man. But men listening to our conversation, this was his moment to change and to have his life used for good. The ordinary moments can change everything in your life and in the lives of those you encounter. So, hold on to that one. Jim comes into this room, picks up a rug, beats down the flames, burns himself in the process, wraps me in the rug, carries me outside, jumps on top of me. We roll around. We put out the flames. He goes back inside, brings the sisters out, gets the dog out, calls 911. 1987, the lifesaver of the year for the state of Missouri was not some police officer or paramedic or veteran. It was a 17-year-old nobody who heard the screams, saw the flames, and rather than being reactive, which is to run in the opposite direction for yourself, man, that's what society says. It's for you. It's all about you. Jim comes right into the fight, man. It's so scriptural. Burns himself in the process. And in doing so, changes both of our lives.
So they get the fire out and you call 911. Again, 80s. So pre-cell phone. So your parents still have no idea. So does the paramedics and the fire department get there to your house before your parents?
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, it took a while for my mom and dad to hear. So paramedics, they were there. They were there within a couple of minutes, and eventually the mom and dad get the call at their respective locations. I mean, just think it's so different. Like you see these movies and you realize, like, dude, no one's on their cell phones.
Mm-hmm.
Not only that, like this was even before like you had the mobile numbers where you could like walk around the house. Like everything's tethered to a wall. It was so different just 35, 40 years ago. So my brother calls 911. They pick me up, get me to the hospital. When I arrive, the first thought I had, Andy, was, oh my gosh, like I'm in the emergency room. I'm burned on 100% of my body. I am dying. And the only thought I had was, oh my gosh, my dad is going to kill me when he finds out, like, dude is going to rip me up, man. And that's all I can think about. Not like recovery, skin grafts, whatever, insurance claims. I was thinking about my dad's wrath. And for the men who I have not yet rocked to sleep, sit up one more time, take a big swig of coffee or whatever you're sipping on, because maybe this story is for you. My dad comes into this room. He's yelling at some nurse, where is my boy, John? He's a veteran. He's kind of type A. She brings him back into the room. He kind of helps her pull back the curtain. He marches in, looks down, index finger out now, and he says to me, John, look at me when I'm talking to you. So I look up, and then he adds, I have never been so proud of anyone in my entire life, and my little buddy today, this morning. I'm just glad to be your dad. I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. And as a 9-year-old, Andy, like this is before I really understood grace and mercy. Like I remember hearing that thinking, oh my gosh, nobody told my dad what happened. You know, the man does not know I burned down his house, and maybe I can get away with it. But as you age in life and as you more fully understand what grace and mercy and love really mean, like the prodigal son version of it, like, come on, come back, come home. Let me put my arms around you. You understand what my dad was really doing there. And his love, I mean, I'm telling you guys, like it did not make 5 months of hospitalization easy, or dozens of surgeries or rounds of amputations or years of therapy. But his love and grace and mercy on day one made that journey possible. And I have a picture of by chance of the prodigal son hanging off to my right. It's of Rembrandt's painting. I'm pretty sure it's a knockoff, a cheap knockoff at that. But it's this big old dad, man, coming around the boy and just pulling him in. And you see this kid, he's bald. He's got no shoes on. The dad has this is important, men. This is Rembrandt, the greatest painter maybe of all time. 2 mismatched hands. The right hand is thick, masculine, weathered. And the left hand, dainty, feminine, weak. And with both hands, this father, men, is pulling this boy in and saying, there will come a time when I say, look what you've done. We've got to redeem this. But that's not today. This is about reconciliation. This is about a moment of grace. I'm just going to love you as you are. And my dad, this is before I knew that prodigal son story well. My dad loved me as I was, and it changed me.
And as a dad, I know you're a dad. I'm a dad too. I don't know if that would have been my first reaction, just transparently, of, you know, going into that and like, what, I'm glad you're okay, but what did you do? Like, I'm glad you're okay would probably be my first words, but right afterwards.
Well, dude, I think the reality is, because you said, and after I said, I'm glad you're okay, here's the reality. Dad knew I wasn't. Dad knew it was 100% burn. Dad knew even then it was 87% third degree. Dad had been told by the doctor, there is no chance this kid's going to survive. So Dad knew that it's not okay this time, which also liberates you to recognize the things that matter and the things that don't. We spend the vast majority of our waking manly hours transfixed, be honest with yourself, guys, on all the garbage that does not matter. As you and I are recording this, there was a big story over the weekend about some guy at a Coldplay concert, and everybody's jumping in and weighing in, and like things are going viral and chaotic, and it's kind of a fun story to beat up on. We're so worried about being able to fit in and being popular and earning the right thing and driving the right thing and being married to the right thing and raising the kids the right way and sending them to the right schools and having them achieve the right degrees and being on the right club sports. And let me tell you, when your home burns down and when your child is found in the emergency room with no skin on, guess what? You're not on social media anymore, and you're not worried about someone else's opinion of your car. So my father came face to face with what mattered. He changed and I followed. And I think the point of your podcast, if you read between the lines on this one and all of them, is why wait? Why wait till she says, I'm leaving you if you don't change? Why wait until it gets to the point where it finally is that inflection point where you recognize, man, it's time for me to become a man, finally. Maybe that point is today, maybe it's right now, and maybe we don't need the tragedy to show up.
I love that, man. Speaking of tragedy to show up, I'm sure that, I know that you just, that had to have been a moment where you go, okay, well, I'm still alive. So I guess God is real. Jesus is real. Talk about a little bit about your spiritual journey through all of this.
So, I'm on one still. Yeah. You and I prayed before this podcast even began, and I was impressed and moved by your word. So I'm on one. I haven't figured it out. But when I was 9, my faith was in some regards even stronger and more robust than it is now. And I have a strong faith now. But when I was 9, I remember early that semester, I drew a picture of Jesus calling Peter out of the boat. And there's this picture of all these guys cowering back. And the waves are blowing up against this boat. Man, it's chaos. And you see this old guy coming out of the boat with a beard on, walking on water. And as a 9-year-old, I knew, not like maybe, no. I knew if ever I'm called out of a boat and Jesus' voice is the one calling, dude, I'm going. I knew I could walk on water. And if I'm I'll answer in 2 ways. So when my mom told me later on that morning, baby, take the hand of God, walk the journey with him, and you fight like you never fought before. You will be fine. Your dad and I will be with you every step along the way, but do your part and fight. I knew I was going to be walking on water. It wasn't a problem, man. I don't know how long it's going to take to walk to the shore, but I'm walking. Here we go, hand in hand. Since that miracle took, I've been in this wild ride in life where frequently I find myself sinking. Frequently, I find myself below surface. Frequently, I find myself with water in my lungs. Frequently, I find myself looking up saying, God, where are you now, man? Frequently, I find myself wrestling. Frequently, I find myself kind of in darkness or alone. And then frequently, if I just hang in long enough and swim a couple strokes, keep looking up, keep moving forward, always, I was going to use the word frequently, but always God keeps coming back, drawing me back up again, back on above the surface and walking forward in life. So I have a strong faith life today. I believe I'm saved. I know I am. I believe in the promise of heaven, and I still wrestle. And the cool thing about when I was burned is that little boy did not wrestle. He knew.
So talk about, I think it's beautiful, that image of Peter on the water with Jesus. What's something that through this journey, through the entire time, that you've, that surprised you, that something you learned about Jesus that surprised you?
In scripture, you read about Jesus using broken people. This weekend, we learned about Martha and Mary, and what Martha was doing, what Mary was doing, and how he's using both these people in perfect ways, like just broken people. You just hear again. Look at John MacArthur wrote a powerful book called 12 Ordinary Men. I mean, could you find more ordinary dudes to surround yourself with than our guys, our apostles? And yet Christ used them. And one thing that I had always assumed in my life, but in particular after I got burned, was I would never be used for good. I'm scarred, guys, from my neck to my toes. I'm missing my fingers on both hands. I'm introverted. I struggle with speech. I stutter sometimes. I'm inarticulate. I hate the bright light. I hate my scars. I hate my story. And yet somehow, I mean, you talk about God's humor and his ability to redeem the brokenness. He's taken this kid who for 20 years pushed back against it. And then at age 28, it led to one speaking event to 3 Girl Scouts. And then from that one, almost like a dare, it led to a Rotary group, and then a Kiwanis group, and then a Chamber of Commerce, and then a prison system. And then onward from there, I've spoken 2,700 times, 50 states, dozens of countries, millions and millions of people. There's a couple of books. Now they're turning this life story into a full feature film coming out October 10th, man, Soul on Fire. All those celebrating not John O'Leary's greatness, but God's. And even the poster, man, if you look at the poster, it's not my greatness. There's not even an image of the guy playing me on the front of the poster. It's all the people, the little John O'Leary, an older version of John O'Leary's life, who showed up for him. It's like a mosaic of their goodness, their faithfulness, their gracefulness, what they did, what they said, how they loved, how they served, and the miracle that came out of it. So the thing that's done to me most about how God has worked in this story is he has worked in every bit of the story and in everyone within the story, even me.
One more question, because I know that, I'm sure it's pretty much finalized. I don't know how Hollywood works, because I don't, but I'm sure you're learning this as you go. But the final cut is pretty much done at this point.
Right.
So, and I'm sure you've watched it. I'm sure you've watched it many times. What's one thing that didn't make the final cut that you think, man, I really wish that people would be able to see this? So just give us a little insight of something we won't see in the movie, but is also a really important part of your story.
So there's two things I fought for at the end, and they both made it back in. And one, because I think this is important. One of them was, and this sounds so intimate, but I'm telling you, it's like beautiful. It's just love. Was the night Beth and I got married. And it's just this moment where you see an example of what love looks like. Not lust, not fairy tale ending, but just love. And it ended up on the cutting floor. And I fought for that thing to go back in there, because it shows what love is. And it's not me showing it. It's this beautiful, and she's gorgeous in real life and in the film. Her name is Macy McLean in the film. The real girl is Beth, my wife. It's beautiful. So man, if you want to see a story about love, go see Soul on Fire. That's one scene I fought for. And the other scene I fought for that ended up on the cutting floor. And then I said, guys, it's got to be in, man. It's the scene where little John O'Leary, played by James McCracken, this kid out of Chicago, wakes up and his mom and dad are both crying. And he asked the question, why are you guys both crying? He'd never seen his parents cry. And I'll cry even answering it, man. But ultimately it is, John, we had to do a surgery today and they took your fingers. And it's this fight that takes place between this boy in a bed tied down and his parents, who just are crying out with them, and they're loving on him, and they're reminding him that God is working through this thing. And little John sees no vision at all for his life, because what that kid knew is not only could he never throw a baseball again, he could never hold a pen again, he would never go back to school again, he would never get a job again. What he knew was he would never find love again. He was unlovable. And what his parents knew is that is all a lie. We will figure out a way to throw a baseball. We will figure out a way to hold a pen. We will figure out a way to get you back into school, get you back into a career path. We'll figure out a way that ultimately you will love yourself enough that someone else will see beauty in you. But you got to have a little bit of faith, John. And so when they talked about cutting those two scenes, because guys, I'm not a Hollywood man. I'm a Midwest kid. I reminded them that this story has to remain true and those things have to be part of it. So there are a lot of scenes that ended on the cutting floor. It was originally a 2-hour, 20-minute movie. That's way too long. It's not like an hour 38. It flies by. But man, I'm glad for the two scenes they had cut that are back in.
John O'Leary, can't wait to see your movie on the big screen. What are your plans for the debut and the premiere?
I'm going to party in a fancy hotel somewhere in a tuxedo and probably oversleep the premiere. No, man, I'm going to take my family and kids. We're going to walk the red carpet, not for ego, but in gratitude. We insisted that the world premiere takes place in St. Louis, where I'm from, where the movie was shot, where the real people still live and work and worship. We want to celebrate this in our backyard, and we wanted California and New York to fly into our community to recognize who we really are. We're broken, undoubtedly. There's some challenges we face, undoubtedly. But this is the story of good, faithful people coming together to fight for something bigger than themselves. And so I'm bringing my entire family to that party. And I can't wait to celebrate God's story with them.